every tech company will tell you like all the things that they can do, and a call out, a warning sign is like, oh, we don't have that, but we're working on it.
Welcome everyone here to Restaurantology. In the 7 years of Restaurantology that Andrew, Shauna, Josh, the whole crew have been throwing this event, there's never been tech here. And of course, tech is changing the landscape for all of our operations in our businesses. And so rather than put up booths and do the traditional conference thing, what we wanted to do was really curate, of the 800 technology options that exist, 7 companies, 7 solutions that are either making Savory a bunch of money or saving Savory a bunch of money. And so we're going to start with making money. Everyone likes that. And we understand that in this environment, that it's tough. The consumer is fickle. The share of stomach battle is real. I don't know if anyone saw this morning, Racetrack acquired Potbelly. So C-Store is getting into the food service game. Think about the future of electric vehicles and where that industry is going. Grocery wants to take some share of stomach. And you could think about competitors like DoorDash starting to open those over the years. And so we're thinking about, from the brand perspective, what are folks doing to either grow, acquire, or return with those guests? And we're going to do that today with 3 of Savory's power leaders within 3 of their best brands. I'll try to give an intro on each of them. But first up, you've got Sandy Nguyen of Saigon Hustle. You may remember her. She had a big check on stage a few years ago and won the $1 million launch. And she's taken that big check and has now signed one of the biggest franchise deals within Savory here over the last week to expand the operation.
Thank you so much. So honored to be here. We're super excited about that. We're Saigon Hustle. We founded in 2020, won the $1 million launch. That was super excited, and landed a really big franchise deal here in the last 2 weeks with Verentes to expand 24 units to Tennessee, Florida, and the Carolinas. So super excited about that.
It's amazing. And so, next up, we've got one of the veteran operators that I've known for over a decade, Steve Heeley. He looks good, not that much a veteran. And so to that end, I've seen him lead some great brands over the last decade, Veggie Grill, Pokeworks, and more, and has really been on the forefront of the health movement. And I consider Steve one of the best tech-forward CEOs in this industry. And now he's bringing those talents over to South Block. And so really excited to have you on stage here, Steve.
Thank you. Yeah, so some of you might know South Block. We're based out of the Washington, D.C. area. We are an acai bowl smoothie juice concept. Have 20 stores today and getting ready to scale up and take South Block outside of what we call the DMV later this year. So we've got 12 to 15 over the next 15 months. Wow. So yeah, very excited about the growth, scaling the brand, scaling the team. And shout out to my partner, Amir, who's actually the CEO. I'm the president. He's the CEO and founder. So thrilled to be here. It's my first Restaurantology. So yeah, it's been awesome. Yeah, awesome.
Right on. And then last but not least, you got Otto Othman, who is the co-founder of PINCHO. Also have known Otto for close to a decade. And the way I would describe Otto is he's got taste. He knows what the consumer wants, and he puts that into his brand. And so just really has the pulse of what's happening on the guest experience, and really excited to have you here, Otto.
Thank you very much. It's an honor. I love Restaurantology. I'm biased. I've told you this, obviously. PINCHO, by the way, so PINCHO, we are a Miami Latin street food concept with burgers, hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, based out of Miami, Florida. We are a savory brand as well, just like these 2 fine people. And I'm excited to be here. So thank you very much. This is going to be fun.
All right. Well, let's get into it. So let's start with you, Sandy. I mean, you've got big ambitions now to scale past Houston and into some new markets. How do you keep the pulse of your consumer as you're growing?
So right now, I think guest feedback is so important. I think that's been so difficult as people write reviews on Google. You can't really respond as a back and forth dialogue. And so some person will write a bad review and then you'll respond like, hey, we're so sorry. Please contact us. Let us give you a better experience. But sometimes you don't hear back from them. It's kind of like a lost cause. And so we recently started using Ovation, and it's been a major game changer because we're able to talk to the guests directly. We're able to see what they ordered, what time they ordered, and we can really pinpoint issues that's happening in the store. As we scale, I think that's so important because we can't really see. People spend so much money on secret shoppers, but to me, this is a free secret shopper in your store every single day. And so using Ovation, we're able to have that feedback back and forth. It's like, hey, what was wrong? How can we make it better? And we can give an explanation. I think that's really, really important.
Well, talk to us about any examples, right? Like in the moment interactions, maybe a guest had a bad experience. Like, how do you potentially rescue that guest? Because to the point of Ovation, they can go on social media, they can go on Yelp, as you heard, Charlie and Andrew talk about. Like, give us any examples that you recall.
Yeah. So one of an amazing example is, we're still a baby brand. We're still figuring out our packaging and things like that and still streamlining all these processes. So we recently changed our packaging a little bit. It is the exact same size. But it's just easier to bag and easier to do catering with these new bowls. And so the guest had a comment like, oh, the value of Saigon Hustle has gone down. We're getting less protein and less noodles in this bowl that's small. And so I was able to go on there and say, actually, it's the exact same size as the previous bowl. We have not changed any of our protein amounts or things that you're getting in it. I think it is just a perception. And I hope you try us again. And he was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for that feedback. I didn't know. And now you've got a loyal guest forever. And so you can't have that interaction on a Google review. There's just no way.
Yeah. At that point, it may be a little too late, right? It's like, are they going to take it down or not? And so those are the type of insights that you're getting, right? And the ability to communicate with guests. Like, how did that guest feel like after that, with communicating with them?
I think it's coming from a founder or coming from management. And so they feel seen and heard. And I think that's 100% of the complaints, right? They just want to be seen and heard and understood that you're going to fix it in the end. Retention wise, especially for Google reviews and things like that, we've been able to kind of hone that in because as soon as you get the purchase, you're like, what's the feedback? And instead of them being angry and writing this bad review, they can get angry behind the scenes at you, and then you can recover that. So it's been amazing. I say every restaurant brand needs to use Ovation. It's been a game changer.
Just to jump in real quick, how many of you guys know what Ovation is? Just out of curiosity, raise your hands.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I just have to weigh in on this because we've been in business for 15 years actually this year. So we used to do like the old school, people would reach out to us via, hello@pincho.com, and then we would reply. Then it was like, I'm so sorry about your experience. Give me your address. We'll send you a gift card. And it was like a full-time gig. And I think when we switched to Ovation, which I'm sure it happened to you, just having that real time is like next level. And I don't think people they're not expecting to text a number and get a response right away. And then being able to just take care of the guest and make sure that the guest comes back versus having to go through a 5-day thing. It's right there on the spot. Like I was in Houston actually last week and I saw an ovation. It was a terrible ovation from a guest that had a bad experience. I was driving, I was on the highway, I picked up the phone and I called him. And he's like, who's this? I'm like, I'm Otto, I'm the founder of PINCHO. And I just saw your text. He goes, are you shitting me? I was like, no, like I just saw it. I just want to say, I'm sorry. I refunded your order and I'm sending you $20. And he's like, dude, if you keep doing that, you're going to be successful
and
here.
That's customer service. Like, that's so shocking.
It was, but you can't do that if you don't have the right technology. Sorry.
No, it's great. And to add to that, AI does play a portion of it on Ovation. So they also respond to automatic reviews. So it's a real-time response. We do a little bit of a lag. So a 2-minute lag on that. And we're able to send them an immediate gift card or a promo off something next. We even do it for positive reviews. We're like, hey, thanks for the positive feedback. Here's a little something on us. And I think that really puts a nice touch on it too.
I love the theme that we're hearing is definitely retention of your customers. You've worked so hard to earn that customer coming into your store. And And we're all human, right? Things happen, your stores make mistakes, but it's picking up the phone. It's doing the unscalable things sometimes to win back customers in an environment that everyone's competing. So very helpful to hear how Ovation has been a must-have solution in all of your businesses. So I think maybe from your standpoint, Steve, I remember talking to you a decade ago about the MarTech solution, right? And you have loyalty programs, you have CRM, you have CDP and other acronyms that, we're all trying to follow along. How do you think about the customer base? The majority of your guests are never going to join your loyalty program.
Sure.
But there's data on them. And so how are you thinking about that here at South Block?
Yeah, I think some of you might have heard the term CDP, and it's an acronym that stands for Customer Data Platform. So we've all experienced this proliferation of the tech stack, right? And the MarTech stack is on the marketing side. Like, what do our guests do? How do they behave? How often do they come back? How much do they spend? All those kinds of things. And a lot of times it's sort of, you get these snapshots. You get a piece of the picture. You get this information here. You get this information here. And in some cases, you're relying on third parties to provide you with that information or that data. I mean, how many of you have had a situation where, let's say it's digital marketing, and they'll say, wow, we've had this great success with this digital marketing campaign. You've had this ROI. And you're like, okay, that looks good on paper, right? We want to be data centric and data driven. But then you're like, well, how much did that contribute to my sales? And nobody can give you an answer. There's no attribution, right? Like, we don't know if that drove sales or didn't drive sales. So the idea of a CDP is where you sort of take control of that information. So a CDP ingests all of your data into a database, right? And a lot of loyalty companies will tell you, well, look, we've got loyalty information, and you can use that as a proxy for how all of your guests behave. The challenge with loyalty, and you can get some good data out of loyalty programs, is only a small percentage of your guests are in your loyalty program. And usually those are your most highly frequent guests. Right. So that's great to know, how do we keep those folks engaged? But what about the guest that walked in yesterday and isn't in your loyalty, right? You typically don't have that information. And you're able to capture things on digital, right? So if somebody places an online order, you've got their information, so you can kind of track them. But what about a guest that walks in, orders at the counter, or sits down at a table and places an order, swipes their card, and you don't know anything about them? So a CDP brings all that information in, loyalty, POS, all of that, into one central place. Then you're able to understand that customer behavior, and then as a brand, you're able to interpret that information. You're not relying on third parties to tell you what's going on with your guests. And you can start to then say, okay, what do we want to learn, or what do we want to know about how our guests are behaving, right? How many first-time guests come back for a second visit? How many second-time guests come back for a third-time visit? We all have kind of ups and downs, right, in our business cycle. So I've seen this before, sales are down, why? Well, we're not sure. Let's just spend money on marketing, right? And if you don't know what the challenge is, then you could spend a lot of marketing dollars and not be solving your problem, right? So I think the beauty of a CDP, and CDPs have been around for a long time. The challenge is they've typically been enterprise level scale, right? Where, companies like Chipotle, Panera, they've had CDPs for years, but they've had teams internally to sort of do the reporting and fess out the data. So we're working with a company called Bicky. Abhinav's here, the founder somewhere, if you get a chance to meet him. Super
great guy, by the way. Abhinav, shout out to you.
Wherever you are. And so we've done all the data ingested, and we're starting to look at some insights, on who our customers are and how they're behaving. So that's kind of the idea behind a CDP. It sort of gives you all that information in one place. One of the challenges in our business is what we call the unknowns. So these are people that haven't transacted digitally. They're not in loyalty. Most, platforms out there don't capture that unknown data. So the CDP allows you to know what those unknowns are doing.
That's helpful, Steve. I mean, it feels unapproachable sometimes for the emerging operator to get more tech. And so, how are you using the CDP to find ways to make money? What's some insights there that you've seen?
Yeah, just some initial insights we've seen, and we're just now starting to get into what do we want to look at and what insight can we gather. One of the initial findings from just kind of parsing out the data is at South Block, 33% of our sales come from 12% of our guests. It's like, wow. Okay, so what that tells us is, and kind of industry benchmark is 12 to 15%. So we're at 33. So okay, great. We do a great job of taking care of our loyal guests. They come back. They like the experience. We had a little bit of same store sales slippage in sort of the middle of the year. We're trying to figure out why. And so what we saw is that we had started to see less what we call top of funnel, like new guests coming in, right? So we do a good job once we get them in the door on kind of moving them from first visit, second, third, fourth visit. At 4 visits, we consider them to be loyal guests. We've got them. They're going to come back. And our team, we just do an awesome job on executing on the experience. So from a marketing perspective, okay, that's good to know. If we're going to invest in marketing, we're going to invest in how do we get more people in the door, sort of top of funnel, and not as much on, because we have a loyalty program, those types of things. So it's how do we get the brand out and exposed to more people to get their feet in the door, get them online to order through digital. So
essentially, you know what to do next. So it's okay, so I'm not getting new people. Let's go get new people.
Right. So we can kind of say, okay, now we know how to shape up strategy. The other thing that's really interesting about, with Bicky and the CDP is we're starting to understand what they buy and how they behave and what drives consumer behavior. So our best-selling item is called the Warrior Bowl. It's awesome. You get a chance to try it. And so we said, okay, if I'm a first-time guest, what are they buying? If they buy a particular thing, what are they going to come back for? And what we found is, even though the Warrior Bowl is popular, we have another bowl called the Nutella Bowl, which is delicious. More new guests would come back after eating a Nutella Bowl than they would a Warrior Bowl. So it's wow, okay, we want to make sure that new guests, we're having them try the Nutella Bowl too.
Nutella for everyone.
We have more retention from those guests. And so insights like that, or we just rolled out a new LTO. We want to know, we can look at PMix, which is very static. Okay, you're kind of, okay, we sold X amount of this or percentage amount of this. But what we really want to understand is that for example, is that helping us drive, we said, okay, we need more new guests coming in. Mm-hmm. Is that LTO driving more new guests in? And which items are driving more new guests in? So for Amir doing product development, it's okay, we want to lean into that innovation because that's going to drive more interest in the brand, generate more buzz on social. And so there's a lot of interesting things you can do once you kind of, understand how are your customers behaving and what drives what. Then you're better able to shape up your strategy.
Well, with one of my favorite quotes is men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. And the numbers don't lie there. You can go into the dashboard, get insights, and ultimately it sounds like you're using that to figure out more about your business. So Bicky, with the CDP, as you're deploying it, and it sounds like Otto, you're looking through that as well.
I've been looking into it for 3 years now.
Yeah.
Sorry, we've been talking for 3 years.
We'll have to jump on that bandwagon.
Kicking the tires.
So we'll get there.
We'll ring it down.
I think it's fascinating because from a marketing standpoint, everybody tells you the same thing. It's okay, you launched a new burger. Did that do anything? It's very hard for you to know if that new burger is driving new people or not. You have to sit there and you have to look at the PMix, see if you actually, it says units per 100, for how many units you sold per 100 transactions. There's this whole thing that you have to do, where with Bicky, I'll just tell you, you launch this, and you usually get 100 customers per month. Now you got 300 customers this month. So it's very actionable, and it guides you. So I'm excited to try it, hopefully, one day. So
let's get you there. Yeah. Well, of course, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is AI, and everyone's talking about it. Maybe they don't know how to use it. And so you've been at the forefront of that in the front of the house here for a couple of years. I mean, talk to us about your experience.
Yeah. Okay. So just go with me here. Okay. Don't get offended. Entrepreneurs, we're gamblers at the end of the day. I don't like going to casinos. It's not my thing, but we are gamblers. What's incredible is we make bets. We make bets in things that we believe are going to work for our business. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And that's why it's exciting. If we did all the right things all the time, it wouldn't be fun to do what we do. Yep. So that's how I look at technology, right? When it comes to tech, somebody comes, hey, Otto, what do you think about this? I put my gambler hat on and I'm like, do I want to bet on this technology? Do I want to be a leader or do I want to be a follower? There are things I don't want to be a leader in. I don't want to be a leader in back of house technology. It's not really my thing. I do want to be a leader in things that are going to increase sales, things that are going to do. So when Adam from Kia, shout out to Adam, approached us, he goes, hey, we have this AI. It's a voice system. It's going to answer, is going to do all these things. Our phone, like when it's really busy at a fast casual restaurant, the team is not answering that phone 50% of the time. No matter what you say, you want to believe that they're doing it. They are not doing it. So he goes, look, we have this AI that can answer the phone. So I was like, oh man, this is where it gets a little tricky because we're a hospitality company. So my rule is we're only going to add technology if it's going to extend our hospitality. And it's going to be a better thing for our team. So I said, okay, let's give this a shot. And I don't know how many of you guys know about Moore's Law. Moore's Law is by the founder of Intel, one of the founders of Intel, that says every 2 years processing power doubles. Right. So I had watched this thing about Siri many years ago, and it said, Siri in the next 10 years is going to be insane. Steve Jobs obviously died, and then Siri didn't go anywhere, but ChatGPT came out. So that's essentially Moore's Law. So I told Adam, I'm like, let's do it, but we need to make sure that if people hate it, that we can save that guest. So if somebody calls the restaurant, AI answers, they don't like it, they hang up, we're calling them back. He goes, done. So we did a lot of different things initially to make sure that people were accustomed to it. And this was like 2-3 years ago. And now with the advancement of ChatGPT, so you can imagine, we call him Carlos 9000, right? It used to be Pablo 9000, but our director of operation, Carlos, shout out, I named the AI after you now. We gave him a personality. We think about it. Like in my meetings with Kia, I was like, okay, we need to make sure that we humanize this. He's a team member at the end of the day. And we want Carlos to be the one answering not only our phones, but maybe our emails now are answered by Carlos. Maybe our social media is answered by Carlos 9000. So there's all these things that we want to do. But now it's phenomenal. I mean, you call the restaurant, it's crazy. We had, just last thing. We had an instance when a lady called the restaurant and she doesn't speak English. She speaks Spanish. We're in Miami. We're in Miami and Houston. And the AI understood her. He wasn't trained to understand her, understood her Spanish, answered in English. She understood him.
That's awesome.
And then they had a whole conversation because we have the recording, and she got her order through.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
That's truly amazing.
And see, so again, going back to the gambling, we made a bet, and it's freaking amazing. So we're happy with it.
Well, it's totally ready. And, sometimes it feels like tech can remove hospitality. In these experiences, it feels like tech has brought more hospitality into that experience. So love how you're using Kia and voice AI. And, the consumer can always opt out, but most of them are opting in. So,
majority of them.
Yeah, love that.
Awesome. It's been a robust conversation. We've got some great questions. You guys ready? I mean, I wish Carlos was sitting here and he could answer.
He can dial in.
Carlos is here, apparently. Can answer all our questions. What's been the most effective digital tool for helping you find new guests and customers? What's been your most effective digital tool for finding new guests and customers?
I'd say social media for sure. Social media would be the biggest one. Influencers, things like that. Because it can go viral, you never know. And that just brings new people, new set of eyes, and it's technically free.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's been incredibly difficult, as you guys know. It's like we have to transition to be a media company now. It's like we're no longer a restaurant group. Like you have to have a whole team, video. You have to hire a young person that really understands. Like we've been trying to crack TikTok for the longest, and I was just talking to Sandy, and I just figured out why. I keep hiring millennials to do my TikTok, and they suck at it. Sorry, excuse my friend. Yeah. So like I need like a young person to do it because we're very good on Instagram, but we're not good there. So I think that's a really good way. But don't underestimate the power of direct mail. Don't underestimate the power of like old school marketing, like knocking on doors, street teams. All of that stuff works. You know, direct mail, like we've tried it in Texas, and it works. It works. You know, I know it's not the sexiest thing in the world, but it's all how you position it. You know, send a letter, say, hey, hi, we're your new neighbors. We'd love to meet you. Come by in a restaurant. It works.
Yeah, I think obviously social is now huge in terms of building awareness and not just, you know, posting content, but, you know, the organic nature of social. You know, it's the more you get others talking about your brand and user generated content, the stronger your reach. Obviously there's digital, you know, paid marketing. If your campaigns are focused and you really know who you're targeting, that can be effective. And, you know, at South Block, we're still big believers in, you know, part of our mission is to build communities. So we still do a lot of community marketing. You know, we kind of, our philosophy is we build the company one block at a time, one community at a time. And it's still amazing how much engagement we get by, you know, just doing things in the local community, whether it's sponsoring, you know, the local high school football team or, you know, doing events, you know, around our communities, around our blocks. So, you know, that's not as sexy, you know, in this, you know, today's age of, you know, technology and social, but it's still meaningful, you know, at least for our brand. And we build a ton of connections that way. And I think that's one of the reasons we have such strong loyalty to the brand. So you can't discount that. Yeah.
It's a great combo of, you'd say, old school and new school approaches.
Totally. Like an acquire, win, return, and you have the analog way and digital way. I would just add one thing. Catering is a big opportunity to acquire new guests. It's a great marketing channel to introduce your brand to other customers that have never had it in an office setting, especially with the return to work initiative.
I think with that, it's with everything that we've said, it's really the sum of small efforts. Mm-hmm. So like the mailers, the social media, the catering, the local engagement, all of that matters. So you really do have to tackle kind of all the areas to make a big impact.
So just do it all, okay? Did you hear that? Just do it all.
You really do.
So another question. So Otto, you shared a great example of a technology that worked, that AI answering the phone. That was great. This question came in. Can you share a time when technology didn't work the way you hoped, okay? And what you learned from it?
I actually tried a CDP many years ago, but it was too long ago, and it was so hard to use. Right. So, and that's the thing, what you were saying earlier, Steve, is that CDPs now are available because of folks like Bicky. But naturally, like back in the day, that was not a thing for us small brands. And it was, I like to say it was like about 30 grand a year or 40 grand a year that we paid at the time for that technology. And it was so hard to launch. It was so hard to use. It was just not fun. And so I've learned one thing. Whenever launching new technology, if nobody in our team knows how to do it, I usually go and that same company, I call them and I'm like, do you have somebody that you guys work with that we can hire as a 1099 contractor to help us implement the technology? Because launching is easy. Implementing it across the board and making sure everybody's using it is a whole other level of a challenge. So that was like a huge learning curve. So obviously now I have Savory, you know, so I'm one of the lucky ones. So now we have a team of 70 people that help us. But before it was incredibly difficult to launch new tech.
Totally.
It's a great example. Do you have other examples of when things did not work as planned?
Yeah. We recently on another brand integrated with like an app, and I think the expectations weren't really set. And so going into new tech, there's just so many things out there. So I think you really have to formulate a list and get referrals to understand the process, because moving over tech is a lot of work. I mean, it can sometimes take months. And so just be diligent with that process is what I would have to say.
talk to references at
Yes,
all the
references for sure.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I think where I've had, any experiences that, tech didn't fulfill. I think it's about fulfilling the promise. Like every tech company will tell you like all the things that they can do. And a call out, a warning sign is like, oh, we don't have that, but we're working on it. Right?
Yes, that is my favorite line too.
You heard that,
Have you
right?
heard that?
So,
Yeah, Q4.
Yeah.
Q4 for sure.
The sales guys do a really good job.
yeah, so really understanding your use case and being very careful in the RFP process, and what functionality do you need and want? What's important to you, and is it existing today? And show me how this is leveraging the technology in other brands. I mean, to me, technology it can be sexy, it can sound great, but if it's not useful, where you can put it into practice quickly, and Joanne, you were with Olo right early on, and that's kind of where I originally met you. And the beauty with Olo was, they had not just the technology, but they had the team and the implementation to support it, right? So it's always a question of, especially in small teams and growing companies, you don't have the bandwidth to take something that is not intuitive to implement, simple to implement, with a vendor partner that understands how to do that for you. And that's where you get. I'm sure some of you have seen this with like loyalty app migrations. Those can be just nightmares if your partner doesn't understand how to do that, has done it, and kind of roadmaps that for you, so it doesn't create that kind of disruption that you can run into.